Mr. Raymond is an old ranger who has lived in a South African game reserve by himself for 30 years. He decided to live alone in a quiet old wooden house on the edge of the reserve because he didn't have a wife, kids, or other family. He patrols the bush every day, keeps an eye out for poachers, and writes down animal tracks. The old man of the bush is what everyone at the station calls him. He can talk to animals with his eyes. Nature is not work for him. It's home, a friend, and a place he will always belong. As he walked through the woods by the stream one rainy day, he heard a faint roar. As he got closer, he saw a young male lion curled up on the ground with a badly hurt leg. The fact that the wound was swollen, stinky, and full of flies showed that it hadn't been treated in a while. It had been scared away by the pack and left to die because there were no tracks of its kind nearby. The lion looked at him with eyes that were tired, thirsty for life, sad and alert. He sat down slowly, pulled out a towel to wipe off the sweat, and softly called to it as if he were talking to an old friend. He brought a small first aid kit with him and got down on the ground next to it to start cleaning its wound in the jungle. The lion shook in pain, but it didn't get aggressive. It looked like it knew he was helping it stay alive. He called the station to get an ambulance to come help right away after giving it some brief first aid. It rained some more. He didn't go away. Instead, he sat down and put on his thick coat to hide it. Hours went by. The rescue car finally showed up, the station staff, and he put it on a stretcher together. When they got to the rescue center, he gave it the name Barrow, which means the one chosen to live. The doctor stitched up Barrow's wound and gave him an emergency dose of medicine after taking him to the treatment room. He stayed in the room that night, wiping his sweat and telling Barrow stories in his ear. An unspoken link began to form between the old man and the wild animal that had been left behind. After successful treatment, Barrow was moved to a cage for recovery that was right next to Mr. Raymond's wooden house. He brought food and medicine every day and talked to the animal for hours while sitting next to its box. At first, Barrow was shy and hid in the corner of the cage, but over time, he got closer. He told it stories from the past, like how he almost died of malaria and how an eagle used to follow him. Barrow didn't say anything, but his eyes got brighter and his ears turned towards him as if he understood everything. He put a blanket over Barrow when it was cold. He put a bowl of cold water next to the cage for it to drink when it was hot. He couldn't go to the barn for 2 days one time because he had a fever. Barrow screamed all night, so the station had to look for him. That friendship did not need to learn a language or be trained. All that was needed was to be there every day. Barrow got healthier over time. His hair got smoother again, his eyes got sharper, and his steps got stronger and more steady. After 3 months, he was hunting small live animals in the training area again, as if it were nature. He learned how to stalk prey, move quickly, and climb high rocks again in the 4th month. The doctor thought Barrow was ready to go back to the wild after 5 months. After some thought, Mr. Raymond sat next to Barrow for a long time, stroked his hair gently, and then said, "It's time." The barn door was opened in the morning. Outside, Barrow turned to look at him and then walked off into the bush. No one said anything, but everyone saw him stand there with an old scarf that had been sewn up many times for a long time. When the sun came up 3 months later, there was a familiar roar outside the ranger station gate. When Barrow came back, he didn't go inside. Instead, he sat quietly and looked through the fence at the familiar wooden house. He went outside and called it by its name. Barrow let out a soft growl and laid down as if to wait. They looked at each other. There was no sound or touch, just eyes that were full of stories. Barrow came back every few months after that. He always picked a quiet morning and left before the sun reached its highest point. Barrow never broke down the gate or tried to get inside. He just sat there and watched as if he were guarding something holy. Mr. Raymond always had some cooked meat ready, threw it over the fence, and watched in silence. Barrow didn't eat quickly. He did it slowly, as if he were being polite to a guest who had been patient. For many years, this scene played out over and over again, like a silent rite between 2 old souls, a man and a beast who met on the edge of life, death, wildness, and kindness. Mr. Raymond started to get weaker over time. His health got worse, and the doctor told him he had liver cancer that would kill him. Someone offered to take him to the city to get help, but he refused because he only wanted to spend his last days in the wooden house. "I want to die in a place where I saved other lives, not a place with white walls and coal machines," he added. The man cleaned the wooden house, put the blankets and pillows away, and hung an old shirt on a hook as if he were getting ready for a long trip. Instead of eating much, he just laid there and looked out the window at the green forest. People at the station knew what he was waiting for every morning, one last time to see Barrow. Barrow showed up at the protection gate again in the morning of a dry season, but this time he was roaring loudly and going around and around as if he had lost his way. It let out 3 roars and then laid down, keeping its eyes fixed on the wooden door, where Mr. Raymond had come out. The young ranger knew something wasn't right and ran back to the wooden house. There he saw Mr. Raymond breathing hard with his eyes half closed. He called for help, and a stretcher was sent right away to take him to the aid center near the gate, where Barrow was waiting. He was almost asleep, but when he heard the roar, his lips moved and tears came to the corners of his eyes. "Barrow is here." After waiting for almost an hour, the hospital bed was moved to the open area next to the fence. Barrow let out a soft growl as he saw him and slowly walked up to the fence. He put his claws on the iron edge as if he wanted to touch him again. He opened his eyes, reached out, and lightly touched Barrow's claws through the fence hole. There was silence in the whole station. No one tried to get in the way of that holy moment between man and animal. He said, "Very good," in a broken whisper. "You've lived, as I thought it would be." He bowed his head and rubbed his face against the fence gap as if he were praying. He never took his eyes off of the man. There was bright grass, a clear sky, and a light breeze when Mr. Raymond took his last breath. His hands were still on his old friend. The guards started crying. No one could hold back tears when they saw that friendship that knows no bounds. That same afternoon, he was buried in a field next to the small stream where Barrow had been saved years before. The gravestone was rough and said, "Mr. Raymond, keeper of the old forest, friend of the lion." After a few months, Barrow came back, but this time he didn't go to the gate. Instead, he went right to the small grave in the middle of the meadow. As the wind blew through its golden hair, it looked like it was saying goodbye. It lay next to the grave for hours. After that, it came back several times a year, always until the golden grass turned brown and died. It was no longer called a wild animal. It was called the one who kept a last promise to the old man of the bush. A bond that didn't need words, just a look and a wait were enough to move the whole reserve. What do you think about this story? Tell us what you think in the comments.